Welcome to our Spain. Hola, ¿qué tal, Gaetano?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Oh, bien. Look at us
Mi,
go.
mi español es muy perfecto, ¿eh?
Muy, muy bien. Okay, today it's the 13th episode.
It is the
So,
13th
it
episode.
is. So we figured we are just gonna throw in all of the bad luck things that happened into an episode, and we hope you find it entertaining. But in
We,
order to start off on a bit of a positive note, hopefully, you haven't asked Spain.
I
Good,
have an
positive then.
Spain. I do, And so I people complain about the bureaucracy in Spain and that it can be cumbersome um and it can be, and there's
Can
things that
be.
don't make sense, and I think we've said this before in other episodes that it doesn't even make sense to Spaniards, but it's just the way it is. But
Mm-hmm.
anywho, so um children of a certain age get free right now. They can have free like metro cards for the subways and the buses. They're free,
Mm-hmm.
and
To what age, do you know?
well,
Am I putting you on the
there's
spot? Sorry.
yeah. So it goes up into age like 30, 31 because it's through the European Youth Card. So
Oh,
the
okay.
European Youth Card is this thing that, if people don't know, gives them the discounts to museums and sites and all these things all over Europe, and
Nice.
discounts subway fares and train fares and all that kind of stuff. So
That is literally an R Spain right there.
right.
Before you even go any
Yeah,
further,
it is an
right?
ass thing. It really
But
is.
carry on because there's more.
So my daughters before they had these cards, and they were these cardboard cards, and my daughters had to carry this a copy of their passport to show that this card belonged to them in case they got stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And they're changing it now. uh Preface that with, the European Youth Card is for 14 above, so my younger one doesn't have it, so it's two different processes to get this card. That's either here nor there. The thing is they have this cardboard card, and they're getting rid of the cardboard card.
Okay.
And so now we have to get these plastic cards, and I had to get passport photos taken, and so there's going to be their photo on this plastic card, so they don't have to worry about bringing IDs with them. So these things aren't transferable. Perfect,
Mm-hmm.
fine. So this was all supposed to have been rolled out by April 31st, and I went in like March, got all the stuff, delivered it, everything was fine. My paperwork I did online was fine, no
Well done.
mistakes. Yeah, go me.
That's
and
right.
go and go the translate apps on the
Oh, right.
you
Yeah,
know
it's
it
true.
worked. And so anyway, um they said we got your thing, and then they sent out an email saying we're having delays, so we've extended the when your other card's going to die from April 31st to May 30th. So
Okay.
it's like, okay, and we'll let you know when we send out your cards. I'm like, they're not going to let me know.
Sure.
And lo and behold, I'm like, and every day I've been checking the mailbox. Where's this card? Where's this card? Where's this card? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I got an email yesterday, and it's basically said, "Don't worry, be happy. We wanted to let you know that your cards, your daughter, your children's cards are in the mail." And I was like, that would never,
Wow.
like, I could never mention the New York Metro system telling us that
Right.
we're mailing your cards. It's on its way. I was like,
That's
that was
amazing.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have to stress. Not that I was, but you're hoping it's coming, and they're like, nope. It's now. I know it's coming. Now I can open the
Well,
mailbox.
for sure, because I think there's always a part of you that's wondering if you did it right or if it
Right.
got lost in the system or something. So even just like the confirmation, right, that it's actually been, it not only did you do it right, but it's in the process and it's on the way is very efficient, I have to say.
Very efficient.
Very, very
So
efficient. That's amazing.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty happy.
I remember, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that you're never quite sure that if you've done things properly when you're doing things in another language, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always that part of you, right? So,
Yeah.
well, that's exciting. Nice one.
Yeah. I'm so. It's gonna.
And that is the end of the positive things for
That's
today.
the end, and I think we've decided that because it's the 13th episode, we don't want to tempt fate. Let's just talk. Let's get the bad juju out of us, so the next
Exactly.
300 episodes are filled with love and light.
Exactly. I think that's probably a good plan. Well,
So,
what should we
what's your
start
pit?
with?
Yeah, let's have you start. What's your like? I don't know if we could do these in chronological order, but what's the first Pratfall?
The
Pitfall?
first mistake that I made was the very first minute that we got here.
Okay.
It started really well. It wasn't a bad thing necessarily, but it did turn into a bit of a kerfuffle, which was as anyone that's listened to our first episode knows, we came over with quite a few bags, 12 in total, gigantic bags.
Crazy.
So we're crazy. And we were going to just rent an Airbnb, and my husband found a really nice Airbnb somewhere out in a little village somewhere. And so what our plan was to rent one of those 9-seater van things for the first night, get all of our bags to the Airbnb, come back and get our little European car, right?
Question, did you fly into Valencia? Did you change planes and fly into... Okay.
Oh, yeah, we flew through Lisbon.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent a few hours in Lisbon and then flew on a tiny plane that I was not expecting with actual propellers.
Oh!
Which I was like, oh my God. And it was like, we're so almost there. I can't have a meltdown over propellers on a plane. But when I saw it, I was like, ah.
So remember when you asked me in the episode 1, like, why did we take the plane to Madrid and not fly to Valencia? Because you can't fly from Valencia to London, from London to Valencia with pets like that. You just can't do. So there was no change, and part of the reason was, well, if we're gonna have a 3-hour layover, might as well just get our butts on the train and come down. The other one is, I didn't want to be on a propeller plane with the cats and my kids who hadn't been on propeller planes and had just traversed the ocean. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, that was a moment where I was like, I'm just gonna not mention this because I don't want anybody else to start freaking out. Let's just all pretend it's not happening, right?
Yeah,
and you get on. I haven't been on a plane that small in a very long time, and that is not my thing. So
they're not fun.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's 2 hours. Hopefully the propellers stay on the plane. Anyway, that wasn't even the thing. It was perfectly fine. And so we rent this big car, this big van, which is designed for, it's like a 9-seater van or whatever.
Right, like a tour van, right?
Yeah,
those kind of things.
It was big. I mean, it got everything in perfect, was no problem. But we drive out, we get to the town where the Airbnb is, and it is the quaintest, perfectest little Spanish town that was built in zero, like literally. It was really cute, but the problem with these towns, as anybody that's been around Europe knows, the streets, I won't even call them roads, the streets are tiny. They are not designed for these types of vans.
Right.
They are designed for a little Fiat.
And a donkey.
And a donkey or a bike. And we can't find the Airbnb, so we're driving around this town. The address that they gave us, as we've talked about in other episodes, did not work. We didn't know, we couldn't find the Airbnb. We're driving around, and as we're driving around this old town, every time I get to any kind of curve or corner, God forbid, that I have to make a turn, I'm doing it like a 10-point turn. And I'm looking at all the scrapes on the wall, right?
And like, I hope that's not our red paint.
Right. We've been here before, and I'm thinking no one's making it around these corners in their regular cars, and we've rented this car. I can't take it back with all these scrapes and things on it. So it takes us like 10 minutes to make any kind of turns. We actually make it. We make it there without putting a scratch on the car, so I was super proud of my driving skills, right?
No problem, you.
Thank you. But that was a fun way to start. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was our first one, and I wouldn't.
And then where did you park it? Were you able to find a park, or did you just go to the edge of town and park it in the field?
Exactly. We kind of parked in front, dragged all our bags up, and then we did manage to find parking, and we probably, because we didn't know where we were going, we probably didn't need to drive through all those little streets, but you know, that's where we were sent to try and find this address. So yeah, that was fun. That was my fun one. Yeah, good times. So that's a combination of bad logistics of what cars to rent, and also a lesson in addresses in Spain.
Addresses and small town life. And
if you're gonna drive into small towns in Spain, rent the smallest car you can get.
Right. And I think I brought up in I think the first episode about our move about how we did take the plane to Madrid, and then our bags were one bag was missing, and so I had this long layover between the plane and to the train, and it was like 9,000 degrees after having come from 40 below July in London, and so we're like sweating, and we have now like literally like 15 minutes to get from maybe it was not literally 15, maybe 30 minutes to get from the airport and onto our train, and it's like a 10-minute cab ride, but then we're at the airport and we're at So I had given up my phone because I had to port the number because I wanted to keep my American number. So I had
Okay.
to port that in the States before we left, so we would have that. So we're using my daughter's phone, and but my I forgot to switch an app over to her phone, so we didn't have like Uber on her phone, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working in like the garage of the air. So we're
Oh.
trying to find to get an Uber to get us to the train station with that. And then when we get to the train station, we have like 5 minutes to get on the train, and I think I told you, I'm like chucking the suitcases down the escalator, and my leg gets caught, and I'm gushing blood off because it got cut on the escalator at the teeth of the steps, and
Oh.
I had a bandana to collect my sweat from my brow, so I tied that around my leg.
Delightful.
Yeah, so
Were you also wearing like all the clothes that you needed to be warm in England? So you're all sweating like,
well, so what we had made a wise move is that because we were sweating in London and stuff, right? But one of our cats had made an accident in the pet carrier as we were getting off the plane. Thankfully, as we were getting off the plane, so it wasn't like
okay.
smelling up the whole plane. So part of our delay too was we had to now go find a bathroom to clean out this thing, and we had all these towels. I'm just throwing that bathroom was disgusting, but it was disgusting before we got there. So he just
Really
had it.
though?
Oh
Was
no,
it?
no, there was like all these diapers overflowing the truck. Oh,
Oh,
it was a
ew.
family bathroom. So we're like,
Okay.
our cat poop covered towels will just add to the charm, and so
You're not keeping those to wash later.
no, we're not keeping those to wash later, and so while we're in there, I was like, it's so hot. I was like, kids, pull out shorts from the suitcase. Let's change. So we changed into shorts while I'm
Oh, perfect.
cleaning the
Yeah,
pet
okay, that's
carrier.
perfect.
Yeah.
At
But
least you
so
had
that,
time to do that.
but which is also why my leg got cut because now it was bare and
Oh, right.
exposed.
Oh, jeez. It's like
and,
it would seem like a good idea, and then it turned into a bad idea, and then it was a good idea.
and then walking with the bandana around my ankle, catching the
Oh
blood
my
and chucking,
goodness.
and they don't have, it's not like Amtrak in the old days. There's no porters here helping you with the luggage on the
Right.
train. I'm trying to get these 6 suitcases up the stairs.
Oh, I mean, should we talk Madrid Airport? Should I throw my
Sure.
Madrid Airport one
Sure,
in
bring it
there?
up.
So, I do love a cheap ticket to fly. It does make me happy.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, so one trip that I decided to do, which I will never do again, was there's several airports in London that you can go to, and
Hmm.
some of them are closer to where you want to be than others, right? So I decided, and this was I think close to Christmas, the whole thing was a disaster, and it's amazing we even made it like to where we wanted to go in England, to be frank. But so first of all, we had to change planes in Madrid,
So
which
you
I
flew
thought
from Valencia to
to
Madrid?
Madrid.
Okay.
Yep, on a normal plane, by the way. It was not a propeller plane. So that was fine. We flew in, but we only had half an hour to change over in Madrid, which
Hmm.
I have actually never, not that I remember, I don't think I've ever been to the Madrid airport before.
But I don't think you
And
ever want a half an hour at any airport, even if it's a tiny little regional airport. That's a very
probably
that's a
not.
very small amount of time. I think it could take a half an hour to get off your other plane, right?
I thought it's the same country.
Right.
I was thinking we don't have passport control. I didn't think about the fact that I would. So all in all, I mean, okay. So we land,
Hmm.
and then the airport. I don't know if the airport has just, which is probably what happened. It's just grown and grown and grown because
Hmm.
it's not designed to get from one spot to another easily. So like in most airports, you have an area with all your gates, and then if you're going from one gate area to another gate area, it's just conveyor belts for people and
Like you can get from
hallways.
terminal 1 to 2 to
Right.
3 with
Yeah.
ease.
And
With
that's
ease
pretty
at most.
easy,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Or they'll
In
have a
between.
monorail. They'll have
Yeah.
something, right? Yeah.
So if you get out of your gate area, then you get into another place. Madrid airport, from my experience of where I had to come from and to where we had to go, was just all gates. And they
Hmm.
have gates on the left and food and restaurants and shops on the right. So as you're trying to get from one end of the airport to the other, all you have is people.
Gotcha.
You've got people lining up for gates on the left going into the walkway that you need. You've got people waiting for food and coming in and out of shops on the right, coming into the area that you need to walk in. So you cannot do a beeline. from A to B in that airport. You are just
Can I
constantly
ask what
weaving
airline you're
around.
flying? Because what terminal was this? Because
I
Madrid has
can't
several
remember.
terminals. So
Well, we had to go from one terminal to another, or one we had
did
so
you have to go like to Terminal 4? Because like that, like there's one terminal that's away from everything that people are like, if you have to switch, you have to give yourself a lot of time.
yeah, so they have signs, which is nice, on in the airport that says if you're going to this, and I can't remember if it's letters or numbers. Honestly, let's just say it's letters. If you're you're in A, you're going to C, it's going to take you roughly this much time to get there, right? So
Okay.
that's quite nice. I don't know how accurate it is because of it's not a straight line. And it's got to be a busy airport. So you are just weaving around people from left to right. And then there's another, and then someone walks in front of you and you don't have very long to get from A to B. So you're like, get out of my way.
Right.
Xena is like running behind me. I'm like, we got to do this as fast as possible. We've got our tiny bag that fits on a Ryanair flight, right? Like with us. And so oh my God, it was so terrible. And then we get to the other part, and I realized then at that point I had forgotten that we also need to go through passport control.
Why?
Because we're going to England.
So you have to. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Great, right?
Right.
So then we get pushed out, not just I think from passport, but also to do security again. Mm-hmm. So we get pushed out of this other part of the airport to go in and do the passport control again, and that has a line. And I'm just like, we're done. Like, we're not getting in here. This is not happening.
Right.
And at this point, I can't remember how much time it had taken. We finally get through the passport control, through to the other thing. And I don't know, the universe was working for us at this point. Our flight was delayed. But that would not.
That's an ah.
That is oh my God. Have you ever wanted a flight to be delayed? That's the only time that I've ever wanted that to happen.
Right.
And it was delayed only like 15 minutes, but it meant that when we got there to the gate that we needed to get on the plane, there was actually a line of people waiting to get on the plane, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we made it. That was the most chaotic like interchange at an airport that I've ever gone through, and I will never want to do that again. I would recommend to anybody, if you have to change planes in Madrid, hour or two.
I will say my lovely neighbors upstairs, they take the train to Madrid and then they fly out of Madrid. They don't do they're like, we don't do that. And obviously for this reason. Because I think also if you're flying, probably what happened to you, right? Because you're flying nationally, so it's a different terminal, and then there's the international terminal,
right?
And if I remember correctly, that's its own terminal far away from the other part. So
and that's what happened, yeah. And it's not designed for you to move freely from one place to another. It's designed for shopping and eating and being at
standing
your gate.
Still,
standing still,
which they do very well here. They
yes.
do that very well here. They're not in a rush to get anywhere.
They are not in a rush to get it. Oh my gosh. Which leads me to, we've talked about this before. I am a fast walker.
Me too. I am.
It drives me crazy walking around the city here.
Yeah, it is. They will walk 5 abreast, and they will not part ways for you. And you could be carrying like a headboard. Me and my daughters were carrying last summer.
Right.
I think I've talked about that in the episode. Sweating our faces off, dying of heat exhaustion, and no one's moving out of our way. And we're like, do you not see us?
No.
I was at a thing where one time I was walking around, and there must have been like an office party, so everyone's outside the front door of this building, like a good 50, 70 people, all smoking cigarettes, having their office mimosas or whatever, taking up the whole sidewalk and into like the street. And I'm like, there's nowhere for me. I mean, I can't walk now. I'm walking into the street. Granted, there aren't a lot of cars here. It's fine. But still, I'm like, this is not, this is not how we do.
You have to have a space, right?
Yes.
So when I was one time when I was in London, and I was walking from like the tube to somewhere, and I was walking and I was doing my regular walking pace, and I'm like, why am I so happy right now? What is going on? How is this working? Like, I'm not bumping into anybody, and I suddenly realized everybody walks fast there. That's probably where I got it from. And I hadn't noticed like how much difference it is here until I went there, and I was like, I'm not even people are overtaking me. Right? And I'm now the slow walker because I spent too much time in Spain, probably.
Well, I think I brought it up a few weeks ago. So my Paloma, my youngest, was once we got to London, she was like, oh yeah, they know how to walk here. She was
Oh,
just in pure heaven walking the sidewalks. Everyone's just there's a flow.
right?
And she's definitely a big city girl, so I have a feeling when she's of age, she's gonna ditch me for the cities of like Paris or London.
Her
And
and Xena together probably. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's funny because I also think one thing I've noticed here, and I don't know why it is, but people don't seem to generally pick the left or the right to walk. You know.
no,
So it's not like you find yourself walking on the wrong side because you're English or something. I mean, it is just people. Sometimes the slow traffic's on the left, sometimes it's on the right. Sometimes, like you said,
right.
there's just a group of people walking together and you can't get by them. It's not. It's there's not a logic that I don't think there's a logic that we're missing.
No,
Um,
and I know like if you've got that five abreast, because this just happened to me this morning actually. There was five abreast, and like they're not splitting. Like we would start to splitting the crowd maybe at least 10 feet in front of them, right? Like we'd be like, hey, we're giving
right.
this. It was like I had to
Not happening.
right as I was ready to like hit them, like body slam them. Then they're like, "Oh, we'll give you this an inch on this side, an inch on that side," and
Right.
I need a few more than 1 inch on either side to get through. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's been something that's just constantly, but like I don't if when you walk around the city it's just how it is, I think.
right,
You
but yet
just
then
gotta
on the
go
other
with it.
times they're very courteous and other things we've talked about being on the subway, and they get up
Mm-hmm.
for people like me sometimes, and it makes
Right.
me mad.
Not that you want that happening,
Yeah,
but
I
it
don't need the
happens.
seat. I can stand up. I am fit, young, and able.
Oh my
So.
gosh. Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, that was something that made me happy that when I was in London, but here, yeah, it's definitely something that I run in against too much, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What else have you got? What
What else?
else?
So,
What pitfalls have you got?
oh, so there is. So when we first moved here, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in other episodes about our apartment flooding. So I don't know if I've brought that up.
I don't think so, but I have the worst memory. Ask my husband.
So we've lived here now for a couple weeks, and for people to know, like utilities work a completely different way here. It's a whole thing when you move into a place to get utilities switched into your name, and they're kind of like not switched off before. And we know nothing when we get here.
Mm-hmm.
And they also don't care here. Like, don't worry, be happy, things will happen, it'll get taken care of. And I'm coming from America now. I want the electricity to start the day I arrive, and like it needs to be now. And it's like, don't worry about it. But also, you pay for, which is new to me, and I don't know of anywhere in America this is like. I've lived in a lot of places, but you choose how much electricity even makes it to your apartment before you even get to use it.
Right.
And the
So you
people
can
that
pay for less.
you
It
can
doesn't
pay
cost
for
as
less.
much.
But
Yeah.
if you use more than you're paying, your power goes out. It just shuts
Yeah.
off all the power to your
Mm-hmm.
place. And so it was taking, we had been here for like 2 weeks, and the electricity still hadn't been switched into our name. And my upstairs neighbors, so sweet. Robin and Jan, give me a shout out. Love you, ladies. And so they had they had contacted before we moved here because they had heard through the Facebook grapevine that we're moving into the building. Very stalkerish, but it's okay. I like them now. And they were giving me these warnings like, here's the phone company you need here, like here's who we get our cell service through, here's who we get our cable through, this is who we do, and you got to worry about the electricity. And they told me about this before, but it still was like, I mean, you can tell me all the Greek sentences you want to. It doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
Right.
But I knew I had a thing.
And
But
also that you have to give away your bank account number to
that
everybody when you set these things
everybody,
up, right? And I'm like, I'm literally asking everybody that I know, which is nobody, right?
right,
Is it
right.
okay to give my bank account number? They want it for everything, and it's just yeah, you just give it to
You just
everybody
give it.
for
I'm like,
everything.
everybody, phone company, and you don't get paper bills, so they're just taking money out. Like if you don't
Mm-hmm.
read your emails, you don't know what your bill's gonna be. And I don't know about you, but I get 73,000 emails a day. I've been so sick of I rarely look at my emails for like I look for like 10 minutes, and all right, that's what happened in 10 minutes. But if a bill came and I was like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow, I'm not getting to it tomorrow because I've gotten too many. But since then, it's gone from memory. So yeah, you're like, oh, now you just always have to keep money in your account versus being like, how much do I need to put in my account this week, right? Like it's a
Right,
different.
right.
You don't pay your bills the same way. You always have kind of think what it's going to be and know to keep that in your account. lovely thing called a sanitrit, which is the most disgusting thing on earth. And it's very common in older buildings
Mm-hmm.
because the plumbing will just be one pipe on one side of your apartment.
I have not come across this. I've lived in three places now. Never come across this. You're the first person I know that. But it's
They might
probably
not have,
probably a city thing, maybe too.
well,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
renovation thing. So most
Yeah.
apartments will only have one pipe. So if you look at like floor plans of apartments, you'll be like, why are there three bathrooms in a row on one side of the apartment and then all these other bedrooms and like the
Mm-hmm.
master's nowhere near the biggest bathroom that should be their bathroom, right? It's like not on
Yeah.
suite or whatever. And that's because there's one central pipe that's got all the sewage pipes. So if you want to renovate your apartment and put your bathroom on, say, the other side of the apartment, you now have to get the line to that sewage pipe, which means that's a smaller pipe and all this stuff. So
Okay.
this
So what happened with your bathroom though?
so the
Because
sanitrit is
that's
a
the really like 13th episode part of this.
yes, it's so gross. So the sanitrit, what that is a poo blender. It's a macerator of poo and
Ew.
tissue, so it can all fit through a small pipe that's now
Okay,
going
I'm just gonna
underneath my
not listen to
floor.
this part. You just go ahead and tell the story. I'm gonna disconnect and let me give me a sign when I can come
So
back.
that's in my bathroom, right? So that's
Okay.
but that handles everything from my bathroom. All my bathroom goes through this thing: the sink, the shower, the
And the other
toilet.
bathroom too?
No, the other bathrooms are next to you. That's all that plumbing's hooked to the sewage. So it's just my bathroom.
Oh, I see. So because you got a bathroom in another part of the apartment, it had to be connected to this thing to get it through.
Right. So it has
Ah.
small pipes. It's not using a normal size pipe to
Okay,
get
that's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so every time you flush or like you run the water for a few seconds even because it's this container that holds everything in it and once it reaches a certain level the motor shoots on and does the blending and puts it through the pipe, right?
Okay.
And so um this was happening. So like we didn't know this at all, and we hadn't had the electricity switch in my name yet. So the people that lived here before did not have a lot of electricity being sent to the apartment. So if you had the air conditioning on and flushed the toilet, the whole power went out in the whole apartment.
Well, that's common. Yeah.
Right? But if you had, if you had the oven on and flushed the toilet, the whole thing would
Mm-hmm.
go out, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're like, what's going on? So that's how this thing was working. So it was 3 million degrees, and there was a big fair in the park, and so the
Mm-hmm.
kids and I were going, not realizing that the toilet was trickling, and we left the
Ew.
air on, and we came home 2 hours later, and the complete apartment was flooded because the power had shut down. So the sanitrit was now overflowing because it wasn't working to
Oh.
send. It just had
Because the
stopped.
electricity had been turned off and it hadn't been turned back on into your name yet.
Right, well, it had been turned off because the sanitrit was going because of the trickle, and it turned
Mm.
off the power to the apartment, which now turned off the
Oh.
power to the sanitrit. So
Oh
now
my
it was
god.
overflowing. And we got home at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're crying, and the place is flooded. And we've got four
Ew.
towels. I'm like, what do we do? And like the landlord's like, don't worry about it. We're like, what do you mean, don't worry about it? Like,
Ew, that's so
it was so
disgusting. That is like
horrible.
the last thing you want flooding your apartment too.
Yeah, it was the last thing for sure. But the Osbane is he had a workman out the next morning, and it turns out it was not even. I mean, the power was the problem, but there was something wrong with the thing itself as well. So
Oh, I was gonna say
so
there must have been because there's no reason for if it shuts down, it should just stop. And if you're not literally using the toilet over and over again, there's no
no, but there
reason
was a
for it to be
trickle in the
overflowing.
toilet, so there was water constantly going
Oh, I
into
see.
it.
Got it. Okay.
Like
Oh
there
my
wasn't
god.
this. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my god. Like the perfect storm
yeah.
of horrendousness.
Horrendousness. And thankfully, we'd only been here like 2 weeks, so we had like no furniture and like we had nothing
Oh,
left.
thank goodness,
Like we had
right?
nothing no rugs or carpets, so it was just that
Oh,
and
that was
air it
lucky.
out. And I was like, can we just get this electricity switch? I just want the electricity. I want all the electricity coming my way.
All of it that I want.
I want all of it.
Yeah, that we have certain things we can't be running like everything in our house at the same time because
Hmm.
it will flip it. That is one of the fun things. But then I went to a friend's house in the States and their whole house got tripped by a hairdryer. So I'm like, okay, this happens everywhere. It's not just here.
Okay.
I just hadn't experienced it that often with that kind of thing until I moved here,
Right.
which
And
is
here you
funny.
need the air in the summer and you need to flush the toilet. So,
Well, do you though?
But I don't know what I don't think the price difference could have been that much difference to send the extra. I mean, my electric bill isn't crazy, so I don't know what
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
saving before.
And I think it also depends on how many people are living in an apartment. You know, if you're one person and you can manage things, then you don't need to have everything running at the same time.
Well, I think if I were to redo this apartment, I would just put and I keep the electricity low. I'd put the air conditioning on off button by the toilet, so every time I flush, turn off the air and then turn it back on.
There should be, you know what I would do is I would get like a, what's it called? Like a spare battery that runs the toilet one because you just don't want that going off,
No,
right?
no.
That should be on its own circuit, I think. This is a permanent emergency circuit.
For
Oh
sure.
my goodness. That's hilarious. The awful. I'm sorry.
We've survived. It's a story I can now tell others.
Yes. And I've been to your apartment many times and I would never know. So they cleaned it up very well. Thank goodness. Oh, what a horrible thing. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Well, on a possibly more fun note, in the sense that it's not quite so
A
disgusting.
cleaner note?
A cleaner note? We have a dog got arrested story because that was fun.
Wait. Let's go back 4 seconds and repeat that. You had a what?
The dog got arrested.
How do dogs get arrested? I've heard of cat burglars, but
Oh,
what's
there you go. That would be much, well, that wouldn't be better. When we first got Blaze, I think, so we didn't realize quite what an escape artist and she was. And at this point, I think, had her only maybe like 2 weeks or something. And she had actually figured out how to open all the doors in our house, like within a week.
Okay.
When she was like 3 months old. So, you know, she knew how to open things, and we have a gate into our garden, and we also have a driveway gate that's large, like a big gate that opens up, and it's 2 big metal gates. And we hadn't really thought that those needed to be locked.
Okay.
Because they're really heavy and quite hard for us to open.
Right.
Something must have happened where it was very, very windy, and she must have managed to do something, and then the wind, I think, maybe took it the rest of the way. We're not really sure.
Okay.
We have been locking the gates ever since this happened, so we had,
I'm
thank God,
assuming you didn't
hasn't
have a
happened
Ring
since.
camera out there yet.
I
to
know. I would have loved to see her. She probably took a key and unlocked it. Like, who knows? She's quite clever.
I mean, she is a German Shepherd. They are very smart dogs.
They are very smart dogs, and if they want to be somewhere, they will be there.
Right.
For sure. So I'm in England, and with Xena, and I'm with my brother and the cousins, you know, and all the kids, and we've been to Legoland. We've had a long day in Legoland. We're driving home, and everyone, you know what it's like when you've spent a day at one of those places. Everyone's just done.
You're spent. You're done.
Half the kids
Yeah.
are pissed off because of something that the other half of the kids did. Like, you know, whatever. Like, everyone's hungry, or they've eaten some crappy food and feeling
They had
sick.
too
Like,
much sugar. Right.
Too much sugar, not enough sugar, too much of this. Like, no one's happy, right?
Right.
So,
And you spent $3 million.
and you've spent $3 million. So the
Yeah.
parents aren't happy either. Like, it's
Right.
just, it's
No one's
just not
happy.
not a good scene. So we're in the car on the way, and I get a call from Jawad, and he's like, "The police have Blaze," and I'm like, "What do you mean the police?" He's like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on." Like, so and I'm like, "Well, I can't do anything
Was
from
he
here."
home when this happened?
He was home,
Okay.
right? And I think this whole thing happened in like 5 minutes. This
Okay.
wasn't like he left and Blaze was wandering around outside, but somehow she managed to get out.
He left and the SWAT team was outside
Right.
with your dog in handcuffs. I'm trying to imagine the scenario how a dog gets arrested.
Well, apparently he comes out and there's police there. Blaze is tied to a pole, like, and Blaze is just ridiculous, right, at that age. I mean, she's still the most energetic dog. She's just the silliest dog. She's not eating anybody or doing anything. She's probably trying to lick the police officers. Like, she's just loving everybody, but she's
Right.
tied to a pole. And Jawad is like, "That's my dog." And they're like, "Well, do you have any proof or whatever?" And it's all happening in Spanish, and he can't understand it. It's just, that vocabulary is just way too much, right?
Right,
So
right.
he calls me and he's like, "The police have Blaze. I don't know what to do." And there's like, you know, there's some neighbors there, and it was just like this big mess. And they're literally right outside our gate. It's not like she's run to another, like,
She's not
part of
across town, right,
No. They're right. She didn't go anywhere.
She doesn't have the neighbor's cat in her mouth.
No,
There's none of
God.
this.
But But I mean, it was just funny because it's like she literally went nowhere. She escaped and went nowhere. Right.
She's like, I want some sun on the front sidewalk.
Right. So I was like, oh my God. So I was like, oh, let me call my friend. Let me see. She can call you. And she's Scottish, but she speaks fluent Spanish. And I was like, she's probably the best person to try and like figure out what on earth is going on here. Mm-hmm. So I call her up. Thank goodness she's driving back from Madrid in the car. So she's driving. She's like, sure, I'll call. So she calls Jawad, talks to the police. Turns out because Blaze was running around outside without a collar on, because we had literally only had her like a week or two, and there was like there's a whole thing of like she was chipped, but you don't want necessarily, there's a lot of things that puppies can hang themselves on basically, and that's the end of them. So not having a collar inside the parameters of our house and garden seemed like a good idea at the time. But she had managed to get out. Someone had found her with some kids, and she was probably jumping up on the kids or something and being super excited. And turns out it was our neighbor down the street, but they didn't know we had a puppy yet. Okay. And one of our neighbors had said that's their puppy, but I don't think the police believed them. So she managed to like completely get everything sorted out, tell Gerard what was going on. The police had already called. So what will happen if your dog gets out is the police here anyway. They have a place that has room for dogs that maybe trains
dog
dogs.
Catcher?
Dog catcher place. It's not a city company. It's like a private company that they breed puppies and do training and things like that. Okay. So they had already called them. So Jawad had to pay €50 to get Blaze out of jail.
It's like a tow fee. Like a towing fee.
Yes, exactly. And if he didn't pay them, then Blaze was going to get taken by those people, and then we would have to get them back from them. So it was like, okay, so yeah, there was a tow fee to get her back out of jail. Okay. And then, so that was fine, and we got her back. But then, like a month later,
she wasn't in jail. She was just tied to your tree still, right?
She was about to go to jail.
Had the company showed up yet? Was the truck
No, that was the
okay.
thing. Yeah, okay. So that was the thing where we had this window of opportunity. So can I
ask a question? Mm-hmm. Was this like a $50 cop bribe, or do you think it went to the company?
No, it was the company, because I've actually found stray dogs and called them too, and so that I know that the problem is that the police don't carry a chip reader. Okay. Which would be nice if they did, but that company has a chip reader. So it's kind of like if you had a chip reader, you'd maybe know where the dog belonged, and then that would be the end of the story, right? Right. But obviously, what the police's main job is to get stray dogs, especially very exuberant ones that are running around trying to be friends with everybody to get them into a safe place, right? So yeah, so we got a bill like a month later for €100 for having a dog without a collar.
So you had another fine on top of that. So you got a fine and like this ticket.
Yep, from $150, €150 at the end of the day for the little puppy that got its little ass out of the gate onto the street next to our house.
I mean, Blaze is cute, but I don't know about $150. I hope
you would have left her.
I hope she's working it off somehow.
No, I still think the kids are more expensive than the dog, but it's quite a tie.
That's why I don't have dogs. Dogs can be very expensive because dogs eat glass. Cats don't. I have 2 cats they don't.
I have to agree with you. Dogs will eat anything. Anything. Oh, and then I was like, yeah, cats, no, they're quite discerning. I think they will survive longer than dogs.
Yes, especially on their own, right?
Oh my God, for sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Blaze.
I'm trying to think if I have something else. I do have one that it's happened. I miss trains here when I think I'm doing things correctly.
You miss trains, or you miss trains?
No, I don't miss them like forlornly. Like right. I wish we had them more.
That's what I mean,
my body can't get on them. Buddy.
You in love with trains?
So,
sorry. I wasn't supposed to tell anybody.
I'm still waiting for my toy train collection to get here.
Okay, so you miss trains.
I miss trains because things. So this is a Valencia thing, and then I'm sure it happens elsewhere. So we have the So we've talked about these Metro cards. We've talked about the free Metro cards for the kids. And
Mm-hmm.
we've had the how we get around Valencia episode. And we talk about the zones and the A's and the B's, the A B and the B zone and the C zone and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how you get on these things. And I'm going to tell the story, and I still don't know it, but I hadn't had this problem before. So my daughters go to school outside the city, and I had to go to school, and I
Mm-hmm.
had planned it with just enough time, but someone I knew ran into me on the street and was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "I love you. You're great. Don't have time. I have to get to the North Station because it's not the subway that gets you out there. You have to take the
The
commuter
train
train,
train,
the
yeah.
train." And so I'm like, "I have to get out there," and I had like 2 seconds. I mean, I got there and they were like, the train is got the boarding thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to find my card, and then I realize I brought the wrong card. But I'm like, oh, it should work because it's this higher level, and it's not going through, and it's not going through, and it's
Oh.
not going through, and like this is the train I had to make to get to school on time for the thing that I had to get there for. Like I couldn't wait 30 minutes for the next train,
Right,
but
because
I'm
there would have
like,
been another one in like 20 or 30 minutes. It's pretty regular.
right. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty much every 23 minutes that train. And the guy was like, "This is the wrong card." I'm like, "What do you mean it's the wrong card? This is," and I didn't realize it was the wrong card because, like
Right.
we had said before, I had the Metro cards all look the same, and you have to write on them which one's for which zone. And
Mm.
he's like, "No, but you need this card for your return. On your way there, you need the other card." It's a whole thing about the
What?
train. Yeah, I know. Don't ask
So
me.
they had certain turnstiles that only take certain cards because
It's
those are the
all
trains that are going
confusing.
from that section.
Right. Because you
Got
can
it.
use your Metro card on the commuter train, so you can
Mm.
use that. But anyway, it was a whole nightmare, and I'm like, I can't miss my daughters. I think it was for like an award something, something I had to be there for. Otherwise, like I'm a really bad dad,
You would have been the worst
So
parent, right?
I
The
had
only one
to
not there.
get to the so I'm leaving there. I'm like, well, how do I get out there now? And then I'm like looking, and as you know, I'm a frugal single father, so I'm like looking at Ubers and the
Mm-hmm.
ride shares to get out there, and I'm like, that's like from the station, it's like an extra $10 for my house, and my house isn't that far, and I'm like,
Oh,
what
okay.
I do? So then my frugal behind got on the subway. Then took the subway to the end of the line, like across town, where I knew I could still get an Uber because you can't get Ubers outside of town. You can only get them in the town, right? Like if you
Oh,
go,
right.
like if you're out in Pusol, you're not getting an Uber back into the city. It's very
Mm-hmm.
hard to get one. So I was like, go to there, it's just so I could save like $15. And I did. It was ended up only being like a €12 ride to the school, and I got it in there in time. But it's these things you have these cards, and I was like, I'm gonna have to get a stronger Sharpie so I know the difference. So when I'm because it was more of me also being flustered, and then like when I calmed down on the train, I was like looking through my wallet and like I had the
What
other
I was
card.
gonna
I
say,
had the other card.
why aren't you keeping all your cards with you at all times?
Well, I did, and I didn't realize it because it was put in another thing, and I was like, there. But I was too flustered, and the train was leaving. Like I would have been like running, like in some old 1930s movie, running after the
Uh,
train.
I know. I will say I didn't even know we had Uber here yet, but we just were at the airport and I saw an Uber car and I was like, "Oh my god, they are!" Because they're not out where we are, or
Right.
if they go out here, I don't think anyone knows that we have it yet.
Well, Uber, Cabify,
Yeah,
free now. Like Uber's new. When we first moved here, Uber wasn't here. It
yeah.
was just Cabify and free now. And so, and side note, if you're using the ride shares, you have to look at all three to see who's the cheapest because they all have different rates. Ironically, it's all the same car. You're getting the same car coming
Oh,
to you.
the same driver is
It's the
signing
same
up for all
driver.
three
Yeah.
things. Oh my god. I find in regards to as far as it being a disaster, like I find that I go to the metro station and the train is just not leaving at the time that the app says that it's going to leave. And I
But
get
from your
frustrated.
Patera station,
Yeah. And I'm like, it says it's going to be this time, and I get there, and then it's not because it's a holiday, or it's a this, or it's a that, or maybe
and what
someone
did
didn't
you?
update the app, or whatever crazy
Oh,
thing
because
it
you're
is.
using the app. I told you, the Google Maps is the best for the schedule.
I know that now, and I'm
Now you
definitely
know
going to do
that.
that. But I was using, who would have thought that the actual app that is created, or the website created by the company that's putting the trains on, would actually know
Right.
when the schedule's happening. But yeah, I think Google is doing it better.
I've never used the Metro Valencia app. It does confuse me, but I will say the EMT, the bus app, that one's
Hmm.
like right on the money. I don't know how they know where all their buses are, and they're like
I
one
can't
minute away, and
imagine.
you're like, there it is 1 minute away. That's pretty
Because we're
amazing.
on the last line, the last stop on the line, I get excited if I drive down there and I park and there's people on the station, there's people
There's
on
a
the
lot.
platform, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I must have got it right this time. I get like excited because there must be a train coming because all these people think there's a train coming.
Do you ever get there? You're like, oh, the train's there. You're so excited. Then you're like, oh, we're sitting on it for 10 minutes because it's not ready to, it's not time for it to leave.
That doesn't seem to happen. It might sit in other places, but it does seem to come and go from Betra pretty like
Well,
swiftly.
we had a moment at Petra. You dropped us off at a nighttime. We were there for a nighttime, and the train was there, and we sat in the train for like 10, 15 minutes. We're like, why is this
Okay.
not moving? Like, we're excited.
Yeah.
And my youngest got very scared because the Spain, here, not Los Angeles, not America. Like, the homelessness and the kind of that stuff you don't see here. You just don't see the kind of mentally ill people on the streets and on the subway,
Yeah.
and so she had not seen any person out of sorts, and
Yeah.
on the train was the town drunk with
Oh,
another
great.
friend, and they were
Yeah.
loud and obnoxious, and old men, and just like having a party. But
Oh.
Paloma was shaking because she thought it was like what she was used to seeing in LA on the
Oh.
sidewalks. And she was like, this
Yeah.
person's in there, and she was like shaking next to me. I'm like, honey, it's just a drunkard. It's fine.
Yeah, it's
Just
not
let
the
it
same.
go.
Oh, that's a bummer
But we
that
were
that
sitting
was
there for
the
10, 15 minutes, and the thing wasn't
yeah.
moving. And she's like, he's getting closer. And I'm like, don't worry. All these people, no one else is worried. We're fine. No
Yeah.
one, and it's not like everyone's ignoring him. Everyone's just like, rolling their eyes at him, knowing he's just
Right, he's just
he's
the
the
guy that's
townie.
always
That's
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say nothing from my experience. Nothing of all the trains and metros and tubes and undergrounds that I've been on, nothing is worse than the DC Metro for leaving you in a tunnel for 15, 20 minutes because they're
Oh,
suddenly doing one line. And a trip to DC from Alexandria that would have taken like 15 minutes now is taking like 45 minutes.
oh, and
And
the
it's common,
claustrophobia.
like so
Oh, yeah.
common. Yeah. So I've not had that experience here that often.
I have thankfully knock wood wherever
Yeah.
my wood is as I knock the top of my skull. I don't know.
Thank you for clarifying
Yeah.
that.
I have not been stuck in the subway here yet,
Yeah, I
thankfully.
don't think I think they're pretty efficient here.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
And
Yeah,
what I
I like
do
that.
like for someone who can get claustrophobic, like I'm not claustrophobic in a subway car, but if it stops and they're one of those cars that you can't move between cars, like I can get very
Oh,
claustrophobic that way. What I love about the subways here is it's one long car, no matter how many cars it is. There's no doors between the cars. It's a one hallway the
right.
whole length, which is so refreshing. And it's also fun because when it turns, you're like, I don't see that person anymore. And look at they came back as it makes its way through the curving tracks. It's very fun for me. It's like riding
Very
a roller
entertaining.
coaster. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I think the generally speaking, we've not had a lot of bad experiences on the underground and metro system here. I think it's pretty efficient and very nicely done.
It is very
Yeah.
nicely done. Some of the stations are even air conditioned, the newer ones, which are very,
Oh,
it's very,
really?
yeah.
Ooh,
The
fancy.
one in Rusafa, it's like if it's hot, it's freezing cold down there. You're like,
Well,
how?
that's a good thing
You
to know.
I don't think this is very environmentally friendly. Again, how does Valencia keep getting green city of Europe? But whatever.
Well, you should see what the other cities are doing.
Well, we were in the
Probably.
Paris metro in summer, and that was not fun. Hot and
Oh
smelly, and
gosh.
yeah, it was not.
Oh my God, the London Underground. I mean, they're a little bit different lines of different situations, but I mean, they get so hot. And
So
then
hot.
they open the windows at the end, and then you've got this hot air
That
blowing at
hot, smelly
you.
air, that
Oh,
mildewy, moldy air, and then there's that one line where it's the windows are open, but it's like the cars are scraping the tunnel because it's
yes.
really loud. I forget which line that is, and
That's
whenever
all of
we go,
them. That's all the
that's all.
lines.
That's all of them.
That's how it works down there.
My friend who lives there, they put their earplugs in. They're like, when we're on
Oh,
this one, I'm
really?
like, what are you doing?
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, that is kind of loud. Yeah, that is.
yeah.
See the sparks flying as you're going
Yeah.
by.
I'm going with all the lines. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I mean, I have many more that I can say, but I mean, I've missed trains in Madrid too, which wasn't fun, and had to
Yeah.
rebuy the tickets because I bought the non-changeable, like you missed the train, you're screwed tickets,
Oh yeah.
and thought we had plenty of time. We were at a restaurant, and like, oh, our train's like 2 hours. Let's just sit and enjoy the meal, and we'll get a cab. Not realizing that Madrid is not a siesta city, and they have
Oh.
rush hour at 5 p.m.
Oh, interesting. Well, there you go.
So we're like, oh, we
Yeah.
have plenty of time. Our train's this. Let's get a cab. And then we look at the apps and like, it's a 45-minute ride to the thing. And we were with other people and we're like, it's going to be too long to get to the
Right.
subway, which would be the quicker way to get there. And we no, and then and then they sent. I had ordered a van, and they Uber had sent a Corolla. I'm like, that's not going to sit. That's not going to fit five extra
Yeah.
people.
Oh my goodness.
And then that was a
Like
nightmare. We get there, we're like, ah.
that's not
And then
what
we
you
just spent
want.
an extra 180 on tickets to
Oh
get
my
back home
gosh.
because they were
Yeah.
last minute tickets that I'm booking them in the cab, you
Oh
know.
my God, that's a disaster. And I'm not even going to get into all the places I've shown up that were closed, including
Right.
the tortilla place that we've been trying to go to.
Which
So,
I'm hoping it's not closed for good, and we are going to try.
yeah.
Maybe next week we could
Maybe
try
we'll try
again.
again. Yeah.
And if not,
And
we have a list of
maybe
things.
you should go there first.
I'll do there and say, come swing by and catch me, and we'll park somewhere else.
Because I will say it is a thing, and I think it's something that happens most likely more sort of outside in the more rural areas, because it does
Right.
happen to me a lot where a restaurant just decides that it's not going to open that day or whatever it is, and nobody needs to be told these things
No.
because there's not really an expectation that places are open. It's more like a joy if you get there and they're open kind of situation, you
Well,
know?
what's today?
So
What's today? Wednesday or Thursday? What day?
Thursday.
Oh, we're already at Thursday. No,
We're
I
already
need
at
it to be
Thursday, I
Wednesday. I
know.
need it to be Wednesday. I have things that need to get done yesterday. That
I
I
would
need
quite
to.
like it to be Tuesday. I've never felt that way about a week. I usually want it to be Friday, but this week seems to have just
Yeah, it could go back 2 days for some reason.
Yeah.
I was saying that, oh, on Thursday I'll go up into this. I'll go into town and see if it's open. But that's now Thursday's Friday, so that's what's.
I
Friday.
think
Well, I
next
don't have
time.
Friday. I don't have
No.
Friday tomorrow.
I
to
think
do
if it
that.
happens again, I'm going to set up a camera across the street and just wait for it to open so that we don't have to go down.
Can we
Or
get a
maybe
portable ring camera and we could just put it there
Yeah.
now and then like it's open. I'll be there in an hour.
Or maybe we can find someone that lives nearby and like, could you just keep us posted? It's just
Right.
it's a bit outside of my area of where I know people, probably you too.
Right.
Uh,
Well, okay, let's end this with an awe of that and things being closed. So, we
Okay.
had moved here in the summer and then it was August where everything's closed and everyone says everything's closed on the boards and everything isn't closed. It's just different and weird hours and things might be closed for a week, but they're open the rest
Yeah.
of the month. Like,
And they will often put up a sign that says we're closed from the 2nd to the 25th of August or something.
Right, or we're only open Friday mornings and we open Monday afternoons or whatever.
Right.
Like we're closed on the weekends. But I needed a hardware thing from a hardware store. I don't remember what it was, and there was one on the corner, and the guy that owned the little restaurant there saw me, and I'm like, didn't have the sign. I'm like, and I know it was August, but like it was opened earlier in the day. So like I was like, when's it gonna be
Okay.
opening? I didn't know. I was like, well, maybe it's just siesta. And he was like, give me your number and I'll text you if it's open because he had the
Oh.
restaurant across the street. And then he texted me, he goes, looks like they're at August hours because it was after siesta. He doesn't look like they're opening up. And then on like Monday, or Monday or Tuesday, the next week he texted me and said, if you still do the thing, they're open. I was like,
Oh my God, that's so
that is so
nice.
sweet.
Oh, man, that's the way to do it. So we should ask the people across
Yeah.
the street if they'll text
So
us
you
if
get my
they ever
WhatsApp
open.
and you just, and I'll buy a
Maybe,
croissant from you too. I'll make it worth your while.
yeah, but you know what? Maybe that's how it's done. Like, I do feel like, especially since we're in a small town up here, I do feel like there is some inner messaging going on that people have that we are not privy to as foreigners. But maybe that is what people are doing because there a lot of these shops and restaurants, even the ferreteria, the hardware store, even
Right.
those places are catering to just the local area. So if they're on holiday, they might be on holiday with half the people that
Right.
shop there, right?
You know what? It takes a village to raise a village.
It takes a village to open a shop.
Yeah.
So people would know, like if so and so is also the uncle and the brother and the this of these. I mean, people just know what's going on. I think.
Yeah, it's their
yeah.
life. Like that is
Yeah.
their extended family.
Yeah.
That's their whole community. Like that's their
Exactly.
nuclear community is the village, right?
Is the village, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case here in Spain because the people are very large families and also very close with a lot of people. I think so, but you're sort of on the outskirts of that a little bit as a foreigner, I think.
Yeah.
Because that could be the way. But that was really nice.
It
Yeah,
was
what a
nice.
lovely
So,
thing to do.
so our Pitfalls and Pratfalls can,
On a positive note.
and we're ending it on a positive note. And stay tuned. Oh, you know what? I have to give a shout out.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, you forgot.
I
Yes.
forgot some. Last week we were talking about
We were talking about restaurants.
restaurants
We
and
were
like
talking about
the
food.
things that makes us smile and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
we had mentioned the Peruvian restaurant.
Yes.
And what a joy. And we went back and they treated us like celebrities.
And they were so nice to you.
So nice.
Right? And she remembered you, and she saw your name, and she knew that you had like that you didn't speak Spanish, and so she had to be there. Like, it was so sweet.
So sweet. And
what did you do? And what did you do?
I forgot to name the restaurant. Forgot to give them a shout out. So I want to say Shindy and Jose, I'm sorry, but the restaurant is Musuk, and if you're in Valencia, it is delicious Peruvian food, and they got my daughters to eat cow heart. So that's how good it is that my daughters ate, and how friendly they are. That they said, "Okay, feed me something I would never eat."
Give us something that's just amazing, and then they did.
And they did.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think. Yeah, I like that. So there's some good stories at the end of our crazy bad stories for the 13th episode.
The 13th episode. All right. So join us next week where we're going to talk about bebidas.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Our
favorite drinks.
Means drinks. And when I first moved here, I thought bebidas meant something like baby, because it sounds like baby.
It
like
does sound cute.
Like it sounds cute.
It does sound cute. Yeah.
We're not drinking babies here. We're not serving babies at the Menu del Dia.
We will be talking about all of our favorite drinks and maybe some we haven't tried.
Exactly. Maybe we'll have tried the ones we haven't tried by next week and have tried them.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Or as we say, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Hey, can't get enough of us? Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spain Podcast.
And on our website, ourspain.com, which we will be updating with exciting new things as we grow.
We would love for you to message us with any topics you would like to hear about.
See you next time.
Bye.